And so we'll see if Talon are actually more than willing to just jump into the puck. This will give LGD much better time in adjusting to control the puck. I like that they also take this Tusk away from Q. It was highly impactful on it last time around as well. So good adjustments already done by LGD in the first phase. And Talon, they'll go with the Undying, which it is up there in picks and win rate right now, and they just gun for it. Like, why not, right? Like Mikado puck, it's a staple of his now. It's something he just excels at. It does feel like Nothing to Say should be able to manage that a lot better, and you do at least have one support that can get on top of puck. Like Snowball, as long as you time yourself and position yourself right, you will have a good way to lock down Mikado here.
I just get kind of concerned, like, you gave the puck over again. I know there's only so many bans you can make as LGD, but that puck, it's such a strong hero for Makoto. Like, they must have an answer to it at the very least. Then again, last game around, they had the Ember and the Doom, and neither one could control it whatsoever. So it does concern me just a little bit for LGD going into this draft. Like, I'm just very curious to see what they do to try and deal with this. Mind you, I don't feel like Makoto's puck was the big issue last game. It was the Tusk of Q, to be absolutely fair, and they have taken that away from Q, so I suppose you don't have to worry about that now, but Q is one of those quite a versatile player, so I highly expect he'll have something else up his sleeve very, very soon for us. LGD, in the meantime, second pick for themselves. They'll go for the Death Prophet, very meta hero. Can be in the mid lane, can be in the off lane. You know, either way, I think it already kind of fits the bill a little bit better than what they had last time around. And we'll go into the next ban phase here and see who they really focus on in this ban phase, especially for LGD. For now, it seems like they're going to focus on the position 1 ban outs of Savage.
Yeah, that makes sense. Savage, he is always like this big build-up win condition. Like if things do go south, Mikado will stall, but the game hinges on Savage catching up. So you just want to take care of those big heroes to just farm up and scale with the game. I am curious as to what Talon reads from this DP pickup. Will they assume a DP versus puck lane, which is it's not the worst thing in the world for the puck. You can dance around it. Will they assume a DP off lane with some flexibility here and try to protect Mikado's puck a little bit more with a matchup? Again, when you think about puck, there are lanes where it doesn't win, but it also doesn't lose. It's actually a pretty hard here to outright shut down from the laning phase. I can't think of a directly unfavorable matchup outside of Lina, which is always first base banned anyway. Maybe a Leshrac could be one way for LGD to run this ref. Like say you run off lane DP here, pick the Leshrac up. You've got a lot of push. You've got good early hold. You've got good early team fight coming out here as well. And you don't really have a strong answer from Talon. Like you have Undying, which can contribute to these fights nice, but doesn't really do much to stop that gameplay. So I like this from LGD. It's a lot more options. It's a lot more in how to actually play this game now. They are leaving Jab's heroes open though. Like he does have a lot still in the pool to play with. I don't think this is really a shining game for something like his Timbersaw, but you've got, well, you banned out the Broodmother yourselves on Talon, and he could run for something like, say, he's run some really dumb stuff in the offlane. Visage is something that Jabs could excel at.
Right.
It's pretty alright here. If you do decide to kind of just want to get a little bit push, want to get a little bit of presence out. Maybe something like Mars. It doesn't feel like you have a really good reason to pick a Mars just yet though, but Mars plus Puck is always solid as well. Mars plus Undying in team fights. You can protect the Tombstone pretty nicely. So it could be one way, but they're probably just going to gun for, say, a Q hero. See, this is the one thing. Ricky's left in the pool. You're up against Tusk, but it tends to be Ollie who plays the Ricky. And I don't think you want a player like Q on the Undying, so it just doesn't sound viable for Talon right now.
We'll see. The third pickup for themselves here. We'll see what they would do on a pickup. And they do go for the Rubik. Q Rubik is one of my favorites to watch. Like it's...
Yeah.
It can be pretty disgusting.
It just scares me because Talon has run that in Jabs. They have done that.
Oh.
And
why?
You know what? I don't know, but they've done it in jabs, so hopefully not.
Right.
They've done it once and it didn't work out. Q, we've seen his Rubik, as you mentioned, something he excels at really well. Just get something else for jabs that combines with Rubik well. You don't need to go too high on your own supply here on Talon. You don't need to huff that copium too hard.
That doesn't sound like something Sunby would do. Like, it sounds like Jabs would be like, hey, let me play offlane Rubik, and Sunby would just turn around and give him that look. Like, we're not doing that. Jabs, this isn't the same coach anymore. Jabs, you're not getting what you want.
No. See, I know Sunby. I think it came out in like the first week, so it's like Sunby's like sending a lesson saying, "Oh, you want to play offlane Rubik? All right, you play. Then tell me how it goes afterwards." You know, that sounds like exactly the kind of thing I can imagine in my imaginary version of Sunby would do. So it's on brand for this imaginary Pete in my head.
Right. Fair enough. I mean, you know what? Now that you mention it, I can imagine he's the kind of guy that lets you do something and then he'll just give you crap about it the whole day. Like, Jabs, remember that time last month you played that offlane Rubik?
You want to try it again? No. Still, it does combine nicely here. It's a nice lift back. You've got some save. I do like what LGD's done. They get the Disruptor and the Ember, so pretty strong team fight. Good ways to pull back the puck. Good AoE control now with a Static Storm as well. You've got your bases covered pretty nicely. This does show that your DP is going to be off lane, and Talon will just go into the Bloodseeker. DP Bloodseeker lane matchup is still pretty DP favored, but the Bloodseeker can play into that. Like Spirit Siphon Chase and then Blood right on top, it forces a choice out from the DP. You want to get Silence and risk getting run down with only, say, one Spirit Siphon running. You've got the Undying to soften you up here as well. So there's a lot of play, and they are keeping the jabs here till the end. Seeing the Enigma ban out and just taking care of the Illusion heroes on Talon's end. Like, you just don't want to have to deal with that on the Bloodseeker. In this case, with this kind of lineup on Talon's side, it does feel like you kind of want something that can perform like the Nature's Prophet for jabs again, and something that can be like scaling condition. Oh, it scares me to say, Mike, but he could run the Marcy off lane.
Oh no, not that.
They could do that.
Don't tell me that. I don't want to hear it if that's going to be the case. I mean, to be fair, Marcy has looked pretty good. Like, it has looked really good recently, but it's still one of those heroes where if it doesn't have a good start, it's so useless. And there's the man of the hour we were just talking about. Somebody looks, considering they just smashed game one, he looks very annoyed for some apparent reason.
That's just how he looks, you know. I remember in an after party in Stockholm, where just one of those days in Stockholm when he was still on Fnatic, it's like, "Hey, Sunby, how are you doing?" And then he just looked, you know, nonplussed, and it's like, "Yeah, I'm doing good. I had a good day." And he just didn't look extremely happy or pleased. And it's just like, yeah, that's just how Sunby, that's just how Pete is, you know. It's just how it is. Going back to this Marcy idea for a little bit, Mike, think about it. You've got Blood Rage, you've got Sidekick. That's all you need. You just buff up someone, buff up the Bloodseeker to be massive, and it could be nice. You get your shard up, you can sustain through the DP and all of that good stuff, and you run down, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, John, while we were talking about coaches there for a moment, we had a look at Zhao 8 on the camera just then, and I'll tell you what, over this major, he looks like he's aged a few years, Jonathan. It's not been easy on the man. Not been easy at all for the director.
Yeah,
what can you do? It happens.
It's been topsy-turvy, you know, but this is a roster that's fairly fresh. It's a roster that you're stitching together. I'm sure Zhao 8's the kind of guy looking long-term as well. So, like, every match is a lesson to learn. Every match is something to improve upon. And he's the kind of guy that I think would really build that mindset up on. So, I'm sure LGD's in perfectly good hands still. He's just a lot more focused. Sunby looked way more relaxed, to be fair. Way more relaxed.
A bit too relaxed. Still,
maybe.
Final pickups to come out. Pause one here for LGD. Shiro, obviously a huge hero pool. We talked about this during the game one. Hopefully it's not going to be another Alchemist pickup here for LGD, because I don't think that'll work out too well for them, and they're going to go for the Lifestealer route instead, which does seem to make sense against a hero like Bloodseeker, because he ruptures you can just infest and be fine. You don't really care about all the magic damage that's coming out. A good way of dealing with the puck as well, because you can just rage and break the coil of the Dream Coil. So it seems overall like a pretty decent pick, and well, it looks like LGD, they're pretty happy with their draft.
Yeah, it's a lot more stitched together. There's a lot more you can contribute in the early to mid game now. For the side of LGD, there's a lot more play. I think for Talon side, like what lanes into Bloodseeker fairly well? What lanes into Lifestealer fairly well? There's not much. It just goes back to the Timbersaw. It just doesn't feel like an amazing Timbersaw game. So I don't really want to see that come out for Jabs. Jabs thinking about it, and Sunbee's just like, what do you want to do, Jabs? You know, what's your ideas here? You want at Rubik? You know, you remember that time you played Rubik, Jabs? It's like, yeah, I remember. You want to try it again?
You want to try that Rubik, Jabs? Take it. It's right there. We'll see. I mean, Jabs is having a think about it. We'll see what he wants to pick up. Against LS, I mean, it's one of those heroes that, you know, it's kind of just always usually has a decent lane. I suppose you can go for things like, well, I was going to say Beastmaster, but that was removed. You pointed out the Visage earlier on, which I suppose could work for Jabs if he wants to go down that route. What other heroes have we got here?
Timbersaw's on hand, but again, it's not like the easiest Tim game. All right, there you go. Just a straightforward answer. You've got the Bash Root spell immunity.
Of course.
You've got a lot of throughput. You can just amp up the targets of Savage to want to jump for. I like this answer coming out from Talon. You've got Slardar plus Rubik lane as well, so just all the control in the world early on to run them down. I think this time around, though, looking at this draft, LGD can play a lot faster in their side lanes. And that was the big issue they had in the last game. The side lanes just didn't go off to any sort of noticeable start. And this time around, they just have heroes that play a lot quicker and that have strong early to mid-game presence on hand. And this could mean a very different game that Talon will have to play up against. Like, yes, they've got combinations on hand for Talon. Yes, they've got ways to play these lanes, but whenever I see this Bloodseeker on Savage, this is one of the heroes that just takes a while to build up. Like, you hit your Maelstrom BKB timing, and if it's a fast one, it feels great. If it's slow or average, it doesn't feel amazing. And you can scale into the late game, but it's not as straightforward for the side of Talon. So it's a lot more even on the draft here, Mike.
Look at those forearms, John. Look at Sunbee's forearms. Oh, this man's been working out, hasn't he? My goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice forearms.
See, he had to have such strong arms to whip the slipper out. Makes it more effective when you can strike them with a lot of fear there, Mike. So, you know, from Fnatic to Talon, he's had to keep that form up.
Plus, I'm pretty sure he's single, so that might explain it, John. He'll walk off the camera. Obviously, he's a little bit shy now, Sunbee. There you go. Off you go, Sunbee. Game number 2.
You gotta do him dirty like that. What the hell? That's savage. Jesus. Mikey, I know it's
I just call it how it is, John.
It's 5 a.m., but damn.
I call it how it is, John. That's 4 a.m. for who, Jonathan? It's almost 8 a.m. for me. My goodness.
5 a.m. for me, you know. Some of us live in a proper part of the world, not some God knows where Australia even is. I don't think it's even real, Mike. You tried to tell me. I don't think so. I still don't believe you.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Rock.
Game number 2. It is just a rock, Jonathan. It is. Like you are. You're my rock, John.
I am John, so you know.
Oh. That's a compliment, by the way, Jonathan. You're like, you know, when someone calls you a rock, you know.
I'm a rock. I'm the rock. Whatever. I could be the rock as well.
Moving on. What do you think about these drafts? Like, do you think LGD have got what it takes to pull off a draw here?
They could. Again, I like this draft a lot more than their Game 1 draft. There's a lot more early activity they can take. They can win out the side lanes. And if they win the side lanes here, like playing with an underfarmed Slardar and Bloodseeker does not sound like a very fun time. Like, these heroes are so tempo-based. So the side of Talon has to still gun for the win on the lanes, but it just feels a lot harder with the heroes they've picked up. Jab's lane, maybe not as hard, but Savage's lane, definitely a little bit more effort has to go into that one. Can be rough if they don't get that, and I think LGD can bite back a lot harder here.
Hold 11, gonna face down a little bit by Ollie. Ollie gonna back off, just securing some bounties. It's a 3-for-1 trade this time around. LGD, the ones to get the 3-for-1, so complete opposite of last game around as Planet. High fives up here as Savage will chase him down a little bit. Nevertheless, looks like we are going to start in the mid lane once again. Nothing to say. On that mid Ember is going to be playing against Makoto. So we have the exact same mid matchup. Now during game 1, Nothing to Say had a pretty decent CS lead over Makoto. And I imagine not too much is going to change here between these two. I'm pretty sure they have the exact same items.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing, exact same skill build, exact same back and forth. I think this time around, the one thing LGD can look to bring out is more aggression from supports. Disruptor rotation there can work out. And if Planet does get the room to show up on mid for, say, 4 minutes, it's going to be a lot more effective in comparison to the last game. So that's the one key factor. You have much more early play to shut down Mikoto. And shutting down Mikoto does feel like the win condition up against Talon. You take this guy out, he can't buy space, he can't have impact.
Certainly not. What about those side lanes? What's going on there? I mean, top lane, Ollie's going for a creep pull. Planet's doing the exact same thing here on the Tusk. He's going to stack up a double wave here against Ollie. But Ollie's just waiting for him to pull it over so he can meet them. And there here we go. They meet top lane. Planet still has a double wave though, so he should be able to pull the wave over. We will have a look at it eventually. So Planet should be able to continue pulling this wave. Old 11 is going to meet over. Savage not going to be able to pull the Radiant wave over to try and make the wave meet, and never mind, we're going to look at that down at the bot lane instead. So Q and Jab's going to be up against Y and Shiro. And you did say you'd like the starter pick into the Lifestealer. It is one of those natural counters, so you'd imagine Jab should have an advantage once he gets a few levels up.
Yeah, it's not the easiest lane for you to play here for Shiro. It also kind of goes into how Disruptors lane now as well. Like, you do get that glimpse early on, so you're not able to harass out, and you have to watch for the stun combinations there.
Yeah, Y's getting chased down. Jabs doesn't even need the bash to the deeps. We'll just hit him once, and that'll be first blood once again to go the way of Jabs, and he had first blood last game around as well, so Jabs having a very good series thus far.
I'm a bit surprised you still opt for the glimpse level 1 here on the Disruptor. It just feels like this is actually a decent Thunderstrike lane. Just get some harassment out, shove these heroes away from your Lifestealer, and get your farm going. And they'll get a pretty good glimpse back, but you're already copying a lot of damage out. And Jabs just doesn't care. He's fairly durable as well. He's got an early Wraith Band with some extra armor, so he can cop some hits from the Lifestealer in the laning phase.
Absolutely. Top lane, action breaking out. They have dropped a tombstone here. Savage going to go ahead and deny that one off before they can farm it. As Old 11 now trying to run. Savage a little bit too low to go for the chase, so instead Ollie will do it on his own, but doesn't have anything like the Soul Rip. Only level 1 decay as well, so no damage to come out of that. So he cannot secure the kill onto Old 11. Nevertheless, though, he is securing the lane here for 23 Savage. Savage should be able to free farm here. There's not really much in the way of stopping him. The Old 11 and Planet can stick around, it seems, on low HP. But it does seem like Talon, they're having a pretty decent time in pretty much every single lane.
Yeah, they're holding steady at least. They're not losing anything outright. Shiro's in trouble.
Certainly is. Shiro, trapped between a rock and a hard place, going to go for the man fight, but the bash of the deeps comes in. Jabs still going for the fight himself, but Y is going to go ahead for the glimpse, and that will be enough to at least kill off Jabs. Problem is, though, he got the kill on Shiro before he dies. So it's still not very good for LGD.
It's not a great feeling right now for LGD. Again, I expected more play from their side lanes. You are getting a little bit of that from Old 11, but the bot lane's just rough. You're off to another slow start for Shiro, and they are getting some glimpse harassment onto Q, but you're not glimpsing back Jabs, so he's tankable for that. We've seen that before in the NEDPC. On the side of Talon, and this is still pretty similar to Game 1. It's not an overwhelming start, and to be fair on LGD, you're not playing with something like an Alchemist from behind, or the Doom from behind, so it's not going to be as bad coming out of this laning phase trading this way. You will have room to grow, you will have some play on hand with these heroes without too much itemization as well. It gives you opportunities. Getting the levels here for Old 11, once you come up for the tag team, you can just melt this double melee lane for Talon up top.
Mid lane, nothing to say. Still farming very, very well on the Ember. 30 and 8 once again, so still the same lane for him. He's still just winning it out, but Mikoto, he's actually being forced to go back towards the base now to go for a reset as top lane. There is going to be a snowball out on 23 Savage. Planet diving the tier 1 tower, so he's going to take a fair bit of damage on the way back out. Now, Snowball, it doesn't really amount to much. I think he was just trying to avoid getting hit by a Blood Rite.
Just dodging out. And Savage is pretty alright with just getting jumped like that. He can drop HP a fair bit because he does have that level 2 Thirst. And he knows he can cop a lot of the hits. He's got 3 Slippers of Agi. A good amount of armor coming out from that. Good amount of attack speed to just ensure he has lane control. Yes, you're not really going to get some aggression onto Old 11. It's just hard to jump the DP in that lane. But your Bloodseeker is going to have a good time into the Maelstrom. Again, Maelstrom BKB is the big timing for that hero. Don't put a knock in it. And it's still going to be effective once at least the BKB is up and running.
Absolutely. He's slightly worth lead the way of Talon at the moment. 1-2, not too much action happening across the map. Both sides just more than happy to secure their own farm at the moment. Last game around, we saw Talon just start running at them around the 10-minute mark. Mind you, that was off the back of the Q Tusk, and this time he does have a bit more of a passive support on the Rubik. Like, you can rotate, but it's not one of those heroes that really enjoys rotating. You'd much rather just sit in the lane, soak a bit of XP, and just make sure that Jabs has a good time. And, well, speaking of, Wire's going to show up, but they have the lift up. Jabs will move in. Glimpse is going to be there, but they'll land the stun, and they can continue for the chase as why he will put the kinetic field up, and Jabs will get stuck. In the meantime, Old 11 does secure a kill onto Ollie. Savage still trying to go for a kill onto Planet, but the TP away is going to allow him to get out. Q is still chasing down Y while all this is happening, but seems like Y is going to be just fine. The Savage continuing on to the harassment here of Old 11. Can't really keep it up though, probably does need to back off.
Just play it a little bit safe. Nuking damage is there on Old 11. He's going to need to clear out a couple of creeps on Savage to build up that HP pool again. You are getting some good aggression out now from LGD. You're more than happy, even though it is just a support kill, but you are slowing that cadence of Talon down by a fair bit. Like, these item timings are just not going to be as quick as they were in game 1. So again, you're giving yourself more room to breed. It goes back to a little bit as to what you said, when that your supports aren't as active. They've got 6 and Jabs here playing tag with Shiro.
Yeah, bot lane. They're going to bring Planet over as well. Jabs still trying. Shiro getting bashed up, and the snowball's not going to make it. Oh, that hurts, man. That really, really hurts. Shiro going down for the 2nd time this game already, and I mean, to be fair, he has a very tough matchup into the Slaughter Rubik. It's not easy whatsoever for a life stealer. And Jabs, well, he's already 3-1 as...
Who is Goodman?
I don't know who Goodman is, but... Well, Savage does not seem happy about someone else typing in the chat.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Haven't seen that in... Honestly, since item pings used to show up in chat and all this random stuff. A bit of a chase here, but yeah, kinetic field will stop. Still, Jabs.
Yeah, getting caught out. He may have gotten a bit too greedy, but no, a big stun, and now the tombstone to be dropped. They'll get a snowball off to try and protect here. Planet still surviving. Jabs finally going down. Nothing to say, still fighting, but the Dream Coil is going to come in from Makoto. Savage, well, you won't even be there. Nothing to say, just going down.
Savage?
Oh. Yeah, speaking of, Savage being chased down here by Old 11. Old 11, 4 seconds away from that Crypt Swarm being back up. Trying to run, Old 11 keeping up the vision. No, he's barely gonna miss. Though he has the Siphon. Savage stuck around, popped the Blood Rite, and that means he will die. Not confident he'll be able to juke out another Crypt Swarm. So at least you do find the Bloodseeker.
It's a pretty big kill for Old 11 to find. He has the Exo they can set up for a push up top here. That kill, though, for Mikado to find on Nothing to Say, that's a big one. Mikado's been struggling a little bit more in this lane. He has been lagging behind net worth, but just having that kill bounces him back a fair bit, gets his acceleration into the Witchblade, and Jabs already has the full Mask of Madness up. And just easily run down a lot of these softer targets now if he's allowed to. Heck, even the Lifestealer. Witty Undying round, you drop his strength, you drop his armor, he's very squishy. Nice snipe from Ollie, but I'm not going to be able to really play off of it just yet.
LGD. Not looking so bad this game, John. Old 11, top of the net worth board, Nothing to Say right behind him. Much better performance than game 1 already. Say. Make sure he doesn't get caught out in the mid lane. He had a pretty bad experience last game on the Ember. Does not want to get caught again. Planet having a bad experience right now as 23 Savage will take him down. Trying to shard himself in and just get a deny off with the neutrals, but it does not work out. Meanwhile, Talon, they're just moving up toward the top lane where Old 11, he just ran out of that exorcism timing. He did get the tier 1 tower, but it may cost his own life as he will try to go for a bit of a run, but they'll lock him down with the coil. It's going to be another nice kill here for Makoto on the puck. His second kill of the game. Talon's starting to really ramp up now, but at the very least, LGD, they do get the top tier 1 tower, which I can't quite remember, but I don't even believe they got a tier 1 tower last game, did they? Or did they get one? They
got top.
Okay.
Yeah, they got top at some point. So they weren't completely towerless. Q is here for the defense. They don't have the coil to really stop this shove in. You should get some room here for LGD to play this poke war. But it's a lot of commitment out, and you don't have the EXO to follow through. You can just nuke down the creep wave and stall for time here.
Not trying. Nothing to say, not giving up on this. Planet gonna move in. Chant is there. Makoto being targeted. Would try to get away. Phase shift is out. They get the Warrior's Punch to Makoto. He's gonna drop. It's a decent start for LGD so far, but Old 11 dropping a little bit too low, trying to run his way out with the Fade Bolt. It will get the job done. A 1-for-1 trade, certainly feeling like it's in the favor of LGD. They can move back into the mid-tier 1 tower, and they should be able to get away with this. And they will. Nothing to say, we'll take it.
Big win for LGD. They open up the map more. They make it a little bit harder for Savage to just sit back and play that farming game. And one big difference right now for Talon is that Jabs is taking it more passively. With his Slardar, like, he's got the Mask of Madness. He's just farmed up bot lane anyway, building into that BKB. So you are waiting for your Slardar to kind of join in here. Just your Tusk plus 2 supports, your Puck plus 2 supports just doesn't feel like it's quite enough, especially in terms of control, unless Q gets something big with a steal. I guess the Walrus Punch is pretty neat, though. You do have the attack range to just kind of pin someone down, and they'll try to smoke with that.
They will. 3-man smoke up here by Talon. It'll be around Savage. Nobody in that western side of that Dire jungle, and now LGD smoke up. They'll go into the Dire triangle. In fact, never mind. They'll find Jabs. A perfect shard's out. Will lock him in, and now the glimpse right back into the loving arms of Old 11 is going to ensure they find the Slardar once again. That'll be the bottom tier 1 tower to go down. And I'll tell you, John, right now it does feel like Talon just don't have a position 3. Like, this is very, I want to say, greedy gameplay from our Slardar, and he's trying to get the BKB up so he can start moving in with the team, but it's just taking a bit too long.
Yeah, they can't really jump without that Slardar around. And he's a lot of your control. He's a lot of your steroids in the sense that it will boost your damage output on these tankier targets as well. So until Jabs joins in, you're just lacking the tool to really play it. 23 will try onto Planet, but he will TP away. And you don't have the bashes online on your Bloodseeker, and you don't have Jabs around either. It's just awkward for Talon to go for these chases. They just have a lineup that doesn't quite deal with this early on.
You're going to try and back off. Nothing to say, though. Looking to try and just kill him off here on the Rubik. It's a bit of backup. Does have Old 11 coming in, but now a massive blood right into a Dream Coil flying out from Makoto. This could be very bad for LGD, but no, Savage. Savage has been caught, and he's been left alone. Makoto, he does get Planet, but he needs to get the hell out of there. He'll kind of juke out as Makoto jumps back onto the high ground of the Dire Triangle, and he's going to be just fine. But it's a 2-for-1 trade in the favor of LGD. And Makoto, he's stuck around. Nothing to say on the chase once again, but doesn't really have too much mana. But they have the glimpse back. They'll find a third. Massive pickoffs here for PSG LGD. And Talon, again, looking a little bit lost right now, John. I don't know. I mean, they're playing without an off lane. I just don't know about this.
They're just waiting, right? Like, it does feel like you need that BKB for Jabs. At the same time, it's sacrificing so much from Savage and Mikato to enable him. He's only lacking the recipe now. Cut your losses in Talon. If you are going to play the slower style, don't force these fights out. Your lineup just doesn't take these fights well without the Slardar. And you just need that time to build up, especially for Savage. Like, he had a decent start. He's starting to lag behind in comparison to LGD now. wait for these double BKBs to be up. And then you feel a lot comfier at that point. It does feel a lot tougher for Mikado though. He's bottomed up with core. And he tends to be that player that buys space for Talon. And in a way he is, but he's sacrificing a bit too much this time around as the game draws even in kills, but definitely a lot more efficient here in LGD 4K lead.
Mid lane, who have they got? It's gonna be the Rubik. That'll be Q to go down. PSG LGD now with a 5k net worth advantage. Looking very strong with this new draft. Obviously not wanting to give any leeway back the way of Talon as they'll jump right into that dive triangle, realizing Savage is farming the area. Savage forced to just run the hell out of there on the Bloodseeker. Cannot stick around to go for any kind of fight. This is LGD now smothering the side of Talon as they were smothered in game 1.
Yeah, they're taking control. They're just dipping forward, good aggressive wards to play with here to give them the information as to where to move. Talon, pretty blind right now on the map. They just need to farm on 2 heroes. Like, they are playing the slower draft that does feel pretty familiar and pretty similar to what LGD was doing in the last game. So this can cost them 100 gold away from Jab's BKB, or 200 gold away. Once that's up, we need to see something effective, but that's a slaughter with BKB Massive Madness, no blink. So getting on top of these heroes that you want to be on, it's gonna take a lot longer. And LGD, just straight into Roche. They've got the Deso up and running on Shiro. He's recovered from a slower lane. Roshan just melts to their output.
Oh, it certainly does. So much damage being dealt here by LGD. Gonna be Roshan to go the way of LGD for game number 2, at least the first one around. Shiro will take the Aegis for himself. Looking so darn strong on the Lifestealer. LGD, but they'll start thinking about tier 2 towers very soon. Not that they really need to, because they do have the better late game scaling draft for sure. That's the thing, they could just sit back and keep the farm game going. Where it does feel like Talon are the ones that need to start maybe moving as a unit, trying to fight back against LGD, but at the very least for now, they're still sitting back. BKB now up on Jabs. BKB being farmed up on 23. Though the Bloodseeker's BKB is going to take a lot more time to come up. And again, I think LGD are just more than happy to keep the farm going.
They can scale pretty well. I don't think this is a game where ultra late game scaling on relatively even net worth is a big advantage for either side. I think both sides have a little bit of play there. So it's not like you get as strong for LGD. Again, their net worth lead just hasn't grown as much. It's still 5k. If it grows to 10k in like 5 minutes, that's where you like, alright, we've got a pretty massive lead now. That's we're confident. But if Talon keeps up, then again, they've still got some angles to take. It just gets a little bit more difficult. You're waiting for the blink now for Jabs, really. Again, the BKB is nice, but the blink's what you need on top of that. You need a way to initiate the fall through, to set up for Mikado to jump in. And it's just more time. Like, Talon will just have to cut their losses, avoid these fights, and just keep stalling out.
See if they can. 9 now, 19 minutes in. 5k advantage still standing for LGD. This is kind of the two sides you talked about when it comes to Talon. Like, you have the really fast-paced side and you have the really slow-paced side. And it seems like they're going to show off a little bit of both here in this best of 2 series. Kodo, top lane, going to try and juke his way out of this one. Wire looking for some vision to be able to get a glimpse back onto the puck. Still very hard to catch Makoto. He should be just fine. They really don't have the lockdown unless they can land the Static Storm. And that they will not. Makoto, he will escape. But it seems like they're going to focus down the top tier 2 tower instead. They've got the Exorcism up here on Old 11 if they want to try for this. Mind you, Savage has just picked up the BKB, so he could choose to just fight with his team. And in fact, they aren't even going to pop the Exorcism. They're just going to do it the old-fashioned way and right-click the tower. With the Deso up on Shiro, they do it fast enough. But the Glyph is going to be forced out.
Haste.
You don't have the numbers from Talon just yet to defend, but they are going for a smoke play. If they find the angle here.
See. Odo just trying to chip away at the Lifestealer. Glimpse is going to be there, but doesn't really do anything. Seems like Shiro has seen enough. Old 11 though, he does get caught out. Q with the lift up, but Old 11 does get the X off in time and we'll go for the team fight. Rupture is there onto the DP, but he doesn't mind too much. He'll just keep moving away. Still Savage is going to try to move in, but there's too much damage. He'll barely get out. Old 11, he will go down. Jabs, however, Jabs needs to run. The shards will lock him in. Still trying to fight, but can't do it. And in fact, Savage, he's not out of the woods yet either. Nothing to say right behind him. Chains not connecting, but it won't matter. He will drop. 4 down for the side of Talon. LGD only losing Old 11 throughout that whole engagement. In fact, they did lose Y as well, but he bought back. And they can just go back for this top tier 2 tower. Nothing to stop them.
You don't lose out on the H's either. Still have a full minute on it as well. Now you have the full Heaven's Halberd up on Shiro, which is such a great solution for that physical hitting core and the Bloodseeker. Heck, even the Slaughter is not going to enjoy getting disarmed here. It gets tougher and tougher for Talon to take these fights. I mean, it's a great pickoff on Y. That is the hero you need to take out in the middle of these fights, but you've got issues in the middle. You're just ultra durable right now on the side of LGD with a full Guardian Greaves up on Old 11. He's got a plate mail on top as well. And you only really have physical output right now, especially on your 2 cores. They're very reliant on just trying to right-click down. And plate mail counteracts a lot of that Talon wants to do in the middle here. It just takes him way too long focusing in on that VP.
We'll have the Talbot up now. Nothing to say, picking one up for himself as well, so really just focused on making sure that this Bloodseeker and Slaughter just feel completely useless throughout these engagements. That'll be the mid-tier 2 tower gone. LGD looking very, very powerful now. So we do finally get a blink up on Jabs, so you have got some form of initiation here on the side of Talon, apart from the Dream Call, of course. Still, just feels very, very late here, and even if they do get that big initiation, I kind of doubt they have enough damage to actually deal with the side of LGD at the moment. Yeah, I'm just creep skipping at the moment down a bot lane, but nothing to say is there to address it. What were you saying, John?
It's just down to who they focus first. If you take the Disruptor out, it's great, but you can't immediately switch to the DP. She's just too durable up front. LGD trying to sneak a smoke play here.
If they could find something, it'd be amazing right now. And they're going to run right into Savage. The Bloodseeker getting shredded by Shiro. Rupture was there. Shiro just does not care about it. He'll just keep going, and they've got him down. Savage just cannot survive the onslaught. Now they've found Ollie. Jabs. How's he ended up on the high ground, John?
Blinked.
Oh,
he blinked. Probably trying max range and just hits the wrong spot. They find some good value out of their smoke here for LGD. Talon crumbling a little bit. You pop the BKB, you can't TP home, you know the Walrus Punch is there, so it forces 23 to try and run away, and no one's there to back him up. Now the high ground will begin. Exo is still ready. It's not going to take too long to melt these objectives.
Certainly will not. LGD going for the tier 3 top tower. Jabs hanging around, but doesn't have any help right now. Still waiting on Savage to respawn. Gotta be the tier 3 tower gone, but with the Exo going, they won't be afraid to stick around for that top Rax. And Cliff will be forced. They might just force them back. Still nothing to say. Wants to stick around a little bit longer. It's hit by the Blood Ripe, but won't mind too much as he takes literally no damage. Now it's just the top Rax to go down. Talon, they have no answer. Odo. For a bit of a jump in, just a bit of chip damage being dealt the way of LGD. But again, they are really lacking the damage. LGD, they'll just pop the drums on Planet, and that's going to be enough for them to just casually walk out. No problem.
Got it.
Try to sneak out here in town. They've got the full Guardian Greaves at the least. They have some sustain here.
They do. Ollie's going to show himself, does break the smoke. Shiro getting blocked in by the shards of Planet. Ping's coming out immediately as now Dab's going to try to move in with the BKB. They'll move it onto the Tusk and with the silence. He really has no gameplay. He does go down. That'll be 1 down for Talon. Tombstone is going to be focused though, so you won't have that available. Meanwhile, Old 11 was caught for a moment, but they won't mind. They'll just turn right back onto the Slaughter. That's going to be one down. Still, they will find Old 11, but it is going to be Q to drop as well. Now Savage, he's the big one to find. And they'll kill him so easily. He's just nothing without his BKB up. Kodo, can he at least get out? It does seem like he can. But it's still a 2-for-3 trade in the favor of PSG LGD. Sure, you probably won't go high ground again yet as LGD, but you are in full control of this game too.
They have everything. They're finding everything. They have everything they need as well. The side of Talon. Their bounce back is a long process. Mikado fighting over the rune just a bit. Doesn't quite spawn up top. Should be able to bail out anywhere. For Talon's part, this game is now all about stall. Mikado's just gonna have to keep cutting these creep waves somehow. Try to buy them some distance in their base, and between their base and LGD, get some distance between them. And try to get Savage to this point where he can get some hits in. Like, he's still gunning for this Gleipnir, which is gonna be nice to combine with your Blood Right and kind of follow through from all the rest of your control. It does feel like Savage needs that shard. Like, he needs to have that life sapping with right clicks to sustain through these fights, because he just melts without it. Like, he can't really trade hits with the life stealer at this point in the game. Shiro is just doing way too much damage. He has a plate mail up as well, which just ruins this physical output again on Talon's side. And I mean, LGD, they're gonna have Wise Ags sooner rather than later. Disruptor Ags just ruins Mikado fully. It'll remove way more play on the side of Talon. Their options are growing limited in Talon as this game drags on here.
To say, jump in, gonna find Ollie here on the Undying, and that's gonna be another. 9-1-7 is a scoreline of nothing to say, and Roshan is up now. Trying to will scout it out. Does TP out immediately though, because they want the top lane, because they saw Savage, who's farming very deep at the moment. Savage, he'll go for the Rupture on Planet, but the Snowball is going to be there to follow up. BKB's there, but he can't really TP out while the Warrior's Punch is available on Planet. So he'll keep trying to juke and jive his way, but now the BKB's over. Very deep position to try and farm in. Savage, I believe, must have thought they were in the Roshan pit, but that was just not the case. He's now Jabs. Has found Shiro in the mid lane. The Infest was there, but Shiro is still full HP. He's fine to back off towards his team, and they'll go back for the Roshan pit now.
And it doesn't take too long for them to melt this. Full AC up with the Deso. Damage output is there. A free shard to come out as well, so open wounds could be a big factor in the middle of these fights now. For the side of Talon. For Talon's part, they're stalling out. It does feel like they've bought themselves maybe 5 more minutes than you'd expect in this game, considering how well LGD's playing. But it doesn't feel like that time is doing much. Jab is still just farming, trying to go into the AC. It does feel like he's missed his timing on the Slardar by a fair margin. Savage just lacking the recipe for the Gleipnir now. That'll be fully up and running and should have a little bit more impact in these fights, but it just doesn't feel like it's going to be enough yet.
Radiant's bottom tower
Certainly
is
not.
under attack.
Very dull game here for Talon. We'll see what they can do with the Gleipnir. Shiro gonna move into the tier 3 tower. Gonna be nice and easy for him. Ag's now up as well on Y, so he has so much control on this disruptor. Mute the whole team if he really wants to. Mid-rack's not gonna last. Makoto gonna try and chip away at Shiro. There is a jump at the backside, but they've got Jabs. They have muted him up with the Static Storm. No hesitation and no buyback either, at least for the Slaughter. No way back into the game for another 50 seconds. As Ollie's going to get caught out. He'll at least get a 4-staff away, but now the chase is on for Makoto. Makoto will be able to blink away. Tombstone is down. Savage, he will throw the Gleipnir out, but it's just casually. There's no actual gameplay here. OTD, they just casually take a mid-racks and they just leave.
Just reset. The fall-through damage just isn't there for Talon. Even with these combinations on hand, it's not connecting in the best way for Talon. And it does feel like now for Talon, you need to get some decent spells out from Q. Like the shards perhaps coming out. Maybe the Spirit siphons out with your shard up, although Q doesn't even have that up. No shards on him. You could try to steal Static Storm, I suppose. That's one way to turn with the Dream Coil and the Gleipnir. Man, you have some hold for that AoE spell. It's just difficult to expect that from Q. He doesn't have Aether Lens. He doesn't have any range increasing neutral as well. And LGD, they'll just keep that pressure.
Yeah, they will. Smoke is broken. Remnant's immediate. Jabs, he does catch a couple with the stun, but it won't matter. Nothing to say. He's holding everyone else back. So Talon, they haven't got their help, and now the Static Storm. It caught a couple of them. Oh boy. Makoto can't help. He's silenced up. They'll at least find Y in the end. It's a 2 for 2. There's nothing to say. He did die as well. 23 Savage. He does end up finding the Ember. That's a pretty big pickoff. Problem is, they are going to lose Makoto. So it seems like in the end, Nothing to Say may have gone too far. But it's still not going to stop LGD from just pushing through the bot lane.
Now they've got the push for it. They can take this tier 2, no problem. Shiro is still healthy. Exorcism does fade, but again, you don't really need it with the output on Shiro right now. Side of Talon, their bounce back in the late game does feel like, what, level 25 on Savage? He's still level 18. You need to stall for maybe 15-20 minutes. You're not going to be able to stall that long, it feels like, with LGD playing this way. And 17k lead for LGD. They've played so cleanly here in game number 2. Bouncing back from a really rough game 1. Side of Talon, they've found themselves in these kinds of games so many times. Like, game 1 goes their way, game 2 just doesn't. We've seen a lot of draws in general coming through from Lima. But it's just so topsy-turvy with this team sometimes. And they're trying to save for the shard on 23. AC for Jabs, and he's got the Hyperstone. The rest of it's still pretty far out. And Mikato trying to go for that Octarine. He really needs those lower cooldowns. He's been really good at dodging. Mikato again just dancing around as best as he can, but he's playing on a thin line here.
Well, they don't have much time for those. They don't have much time for the farm right now, that's for sure. Talon. And they'll try to continue defending high ground. Shiro's going to move in. Lift is there, but he still will find the tier 3 tower. Is now Savage. Well, no, he does get caught by the Static Storm. And that'll mean they just jump right in. He's got no way to survive through it. No buyback available on the Bloodseeker either. They are trying to focus on Nothing to Say, but the heals are incoming. It might be time to call it, boys. And they do. 1-1 will be the scoreline of this series as LGD managed to push it back their way in game number 2. Just both these teams, right? Like, one game they can play super clean, and then the next game they just, new draft comes out and it just doesn't look like they know exactly what they're doing with it.
Yeah, they go off a lot slower. Like, they go back into this Savage Bloodseeker, and it does make some sense. Like, you can kind of play up against the Lifestealer with your shard up. You can combine with a puck. Dream Coil, Bloodright is a lot of control. The biggest issue here, it did feel like Jabs so